All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Continue this interview with Anthony Starr Jr. So, what neighborhood did that incident that got you locked up? What did that neighborhood like? Where did that go down at?
Oh well, that went down in Oakland,
Oakland. Okay.
in the area that we didn't even think it was like going to draw too much attention. But apparently that night, what
It
we
did.
did draw a lot of attention.
Hmm.
So
So, what was your time like getting locked up, going into prison? Like, what was all that like? What would be the description of it? Like, you actually when you first stepped into the door, getting booked and everything. What was that like getting?
well, I mean, when you first go into the county jail, I mean, the best way to describe that is you buried alive
Mm-hmm.
because you go into processing, they search you, they take all your belongings, and then so like they stick you in this cold cell, hold cell. The whole room made out of cement. There ain't nothing but cement benches. There's a toilet in there. There's a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and like literally, I'd never been to jail, so I'm like, well, it's cold as hell in here. It ain't like I was planning on going. So like, I mean,
Yes.
I had nothing but regular clothes when I was in there freezing. It took me like 10 hours just to go to sleep for like maybe an hour or two.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So being booked was the hard part because like I'm like damn like when the night before I was drinking, was high,
Mm-hmm.
full of adrenaline. Then out of nowhere, that's when I went to sleep for a little bit. Finally, it was hard to go to sleep. It was so damn cold in there.
Yes.
Then finally, when I wake up, I'm like, man, this can't be happening. I'm
Mm.
really in jail. In jail, like I'm not in. That wasn't no dream. I'm in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I mean, and that's when all the BS started. Like I mean, I was talking to people. I was stressed out. They like, what's like, yeah, like, this your first time here? I'm like, yeah, it's my very first time ever being in jail. They said, trust me, they probably gonna give you an OR. So that got my hopes up. Like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I'll get out. As I'm getting processed, one of the um one of the workers that worked there, he's asking me a couple of questions. He's like, well, what you? He's like, I was like, yo, let me ask you a question. Somebody told me I might get an OR because it's my first time in jail. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
what's your charges? I said, robbery. He was like, don't get your hopes up. I was like, oh, damn. Then so they move you all around and those different holding cells from holding cells to holding
Mm-hmm.
cells. You know what I'm saying? The nurses might talk to you. But then the real reality sets in when you go in front of that judge on a video conference and they tell you what your charges are, what your bond's gonna be, when your first hearing's gonna be,
Yeah.
and when you're and what's gonna be the results. So honestly, reality I really like set on me when he said, we got you on this charge, we got you on that charge, we got this, we're gonna set your bond at $75,000 straight.
Mm.
And like we're gonna set your preliminary hearing for 1 week from today. I was like, when I heard my bond, I was like, man, I'm not going nowhere. So surprisingly, like I mean, just to see what my possibilities was, I called a bail bondsman. It's always free to call them.
Yeah.
He said, what's your name? What's your charges? What's your bond? Okay, my bond's $75,000 straight. All right, to get you out of jail, we're gonna need $37.50 collateral, and we need 6 cosigns. I'm like, collateral? What you need for collateral? He was like, a house. I'm like, let me ask you this. Now, I was like, would you be willing to take like a car for collateral? Like, there's a car that's brand new. It's a foreign car too. They said, no, we need a house.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah. I was like, what's the cosigners for? They said the cosigners they're backing you up, basically saying you gonna make court appearances. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
make court appearances, we gonna lock them up until we get a hold of you.
Mm.
So they're putting themselves on the line to help you. I'm like, damn, 6 cosigners. I don't even know 6 people that like you.
Yeah.
Let alone,
That's
let
a
alone.
lot of cosigners.
Yeah, that's a lot of cosigners.
Jesus.
So I mean, I was stressed out or whatever. I was in there thinking like the only good part about that first beginning of that experience is that I actually got to go to sleep. Like, cause like in the county jail, it's rough and booking.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't slept for like 2 days for real. I slept
Mm.
on and off, cat naps. So finally, they put me up in the cell on the 4th floor.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as cold. I was like, all right, it's actually a bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Really, it's a lawn chair mat.
Yeah.
So next minute, I finally go. Finally go to sleep. All right, cool. But then reality just kept kicking me in my butt, like, man, you still in jail. You still in jail. You still in jail. I mean, at first it was rough. The first couple of months. Next thing I know, 6 months then went past, and I'm so
In county.
yeah, in the county. I did like this prison thing got like 3 chapters to it.
Mm-hmm.
I did 7 months in the county, did 2.5 years up Camp Hill, did my last 6 or 7 months down Western Pennsylvania, and then I did another 90 days in the halfway house.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, so all that time, it's like, I mean, it just all happened in sections. I mean, so I told the public, at first I had a paid attorney.
Yeah.
And he ended up, he never even got paid, so I ended up having to switch to the public defender.
Mm-hmm.
Then the public defender, she flat out told me, like, he's going to convict you. He's going to convict you. He's going to convict you. I'm like, man, I kept lying like I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So finally, she kept going back and forth with me. Then I just slapped the table. I was like, oh my God, man, I did it. She was like, I know. The story you told me didn't even make sense. I was like, I know. I kept trying to make it make sense. I was like, but there's nothing I could do about it. I did it. And I told her what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, I was like, listen, man, I'm sorry about all my shenanigans, man, but let's just go over here, get the best plea bargain we can get, because I did it. I didn't kill nobody, so they gotta let me go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So after that or whatever, we talked, and everything turned out better next minute. So we get up from court 6 o'clock in the morning. We go down to the holding area.
Mm-hmm.
Put our court clothes on. We go over to the courthouse. They shackle all of us, take us to the sheriff van over there. So then finally, we get in the bullpen, and next thing you know, there's a lot of people over there, but mind you, my little cousin's there too.
Okay.
Like, he's like a brother to me. So like that day, I finally hear my name being called. Like, I was totally distracted because, like I said, at this point in time, I'm getting used to being in jail.
Yeah.
So just normal activity, just being in that crowded room with all them people talking and stuff, I'm just used to it. So finally, I get the phone, I get the call, like Starr, your lawyer want to see you. And when I went over there, like, I'm walking to now mind you, like, in the bullpen, we're not wearing shackles no more. Our feet is still shackled, but our hands and everything is free. But like, so mind you, I'm walking over to the cage to go talk to my lawyer. And my lawyer's like, she heard me coming, but she's trying not to look up at me. She just kept looking down, reading the same paperwork that's in her hand. So finally, she's like, I'm like, I don't like that look on your face. She was like, I got you a plea bargain, like it wasn't what you wanted. I'm like, what's the plea bargain? She said 3 to 8 years. I said, nope, I don't even want it. I said, let's go to trial. She said, no, we're not going to trial. I swear I'm not letting you go to trial. I was like, we're going to trial, man. I was like, let's postpone this. Pick a jury. Let's go to trial. She said, there is no postponing this no more. If you say no and you want to go to trial, we're going to pick a jury today. Your court here, she said, we're going to pick a jury today.
Whoa.
She said, we're going to do that. We're going to get all the paperwork set up. You could go to trial any time today. She said, it's only 2 o'clock. It don't take them that long to get this ball rolling. You can go to trial today. And with these charges and with this judge and all these witnesses, I said, did they show up? She said, everybody showed up. Everybody showed up.
Whoa.
She said, you got 5 witnesses that drove from Philly just to come testify against you. You got 2 cops testifying against you. And you got another cop. And on top of that, they got paperwork from saying that you were denying it and all the little lies you told and all of that. They're going to use all of that against you. So I'm like, man, damn. I'm like, why 3 to 8 years? She was like, you don't understand. Now, mind you, one thing that a lot of people didn't know, this will get a little tricky. When I first got arraigned, and the judge said, we got you on this charge, I'm going to actually tell you which charge was which. So I didn't have 1, I didn't have 2. I had 5 counts of armed robbery with serious bodily injury.
Jeez.
Because the main victim's tooth had got knocked out. So I had 5 counts of robbery, 1 count of burglary, 1 count of criminal conspiracy, possession of a firearm without a license, and I had a misdemeanor drug charge for the little bit of weed they found in my pocket. So, when she told me, she said, "Well, I'm telling you right now, with these charges, these witnesses, you gonna get a lot more than 3 to 8 years if you lose trial, because the way the state of PA does it, you can have like 4 counts of the same thing. If you go to trial and you lose, they can give you a 3 to 6 for this charge, 4 to 8 for that one, 5 to 10 for this one, 6 to 12 for that one. So they're going to read all the charges, which sentence each one's carried, and they're going to combine it. So 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus another 5. You know what I'm saying? You're looking about over 20 years for just your minimum. And that's what.
If you don't take that plea deal.
Nah, you don't take that plea bill. Like, listen, the way the law plays, the law plays dirty. If you don't go along with the way they want to do stuff the right way, depending on the way they want you to do it. Like, if you did something wrong and you don't take that plea bargain, like that law book, they're gonna throw it every week. They call it throwing the book at you. They're gonna throw the book at you every little bit of time they can give you. They're gonna just keep adding, and they're gonna consolidate the biggest sentence they could come up with. That's what you get. That's gonna be the biggest. That's gonna be the biggest thing. That's gonna be the biggest downfall. But that was just the crazy part. That's just the county part. That's just before prison started.
Yeah, so let's get into that. What happened? So what was the result of the sentence?
So the result of the sentence was, I took the plea bargain. I'm like, all right, I did it. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I did it. Let's get it over and done with. I'm already in jail. They gotta let me. They gotta let me know. I mean, they gotta let me go one day.
Yeah.
So I ain't killed nobody. So I signed the plea bargain. Went upstairs. I had to get presented to the judge. The judge said what he said. The DA presented his case to him. Presented my case to him. Told him what happened. And the judge was like, "Oh well, you could be." He was like, "Why is there a plea bargain on this case?" The DA was like, "Well, Your Honor, he's a 0 on the scale. He accepted responsibility for what he did, and he's accepting the plea bargain." I sent this lawyer down there with a plea bargain. She didn't come back up here arguing with me. She said he's going to take it. That showed me that he knew what he did was wrong. He's a 0 on the scale. He never been in trouble a day in his life. The judge sat back and was like, "You realize how lucky you are to be getting this plea bargain?" I was like, "Yes, sir." So, you know what I'm saying? You could be getting a lot more than this.
Yeah.
You know, what you mean, sir? He said, with these charges right here, first time or not, this could easily be a 10 to 20. He said, but like he said, this the first time you ever did anything, you took responsibility, I'm going to accept your plea bargain. So I ended up with 3 to 8 years for the robbery charges and 2 years of special state supervised probation for the burglary charges after I finished my parole and all of that, after I did my 3 to 8 year sentence.
So basically, because you manned up and just accepted what you did and didn't try to stretch it out and all that, they just gave you a huge break.
Yeah, they could have, because I mean they did. They gave me a huge break. It could have been a lot.
But they could have slammed you though.
They could have.
10 to 20 ain't no joke. That's a lifetime.
Yeah, 10 to 20 ain't no. I mean, like, it is what it is. I mean, things like that.
So, I mean, to the next phase. I mean, how was it going to Camp Hill? What was that like?
That was a rough stop. I am old. Camp Hill. See, Camp Hill was like, this is the way they do it. I took my plea bargain. I was on the regular pod.
Okay.
I took
That's going for county to Camp Hill.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's because I took my plea bargain. I went from one pod in the county to another pod, the max pod. So the next minute, I go to the max pod. Then 2 days later, they hit me. They hit my intercom. Pack it up. It's time to go. So I go to Western Penitentiary, which is right on the north side.
And that's a state.
That's a state prison.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, so the prison, I was there for like not even a week. I don't want to say.
Okay.
Pack it up, go to Camp Hill. Now, mind you, Camp Hill, that's a 4.5 5-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We stopped at other prisons and stuff like that, the field and bus and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Then we go to Camp Hill. And very first thing they do in Camp Hill is they quarantine you for like 2 weeks. They quarantine you. You get psychological interviews. You get classified. You get blood tests. You get health orientations and make sure you don't have no health problems or nothing. Then you go back and then you stay quarantined and they move you to a different block.
Okay.
Now at Camp Hill, it's not necessarily just like that's necessarily gonna be your home jail. That's a classification jail, but they do keep prisoners up there.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a rough stop because, like we talked about before in the interview, with this documentary we doing.
Yeah.
It's about, like I said before, it's about fraternal gangs. Remember, I said fraternal gangs because you know, different. Like I use that word fraternal because, like in college, there are different fraternities.
Yes. And
basically, like fraternities mess with their fraternities.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And fraternal is a word that I use because, like, again, the majority of PA is their prison system. A lot of them is deuce for Philly. Everybody knows people from Philly and Pittsburgh don't get along.
Yes.
I don't know what started that, but I mean it started a long time ago. When I went to Job Corps, and I was out there with Philly dudes, they really did not like people from Pittsburgh.
I seen you there too when I was in Job Corps.
Yeah, so like they just don't mess with Pittsburgh people. So like automatically, there's somewhat of a little bit of like a dash of hatred that's already in that mix because they found out you from Pittsburgh. That was a rough stop, and I mean, no offense, but a Philly dude, you can't tell them nothing. They think they know everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Either they know everything or they got a way to argue with you. Yes. So it was a rough start because, like, I mean, I go from the county to prison, then I'm sitting there thinking, like, damn, I'm really in prison. Mm-hmm. I ain't never sorry. Like, so basically, like,
oh, sorry.
I go from Camp Hill. Like I said, I go from county to Camp Hill. The start of it was rough to begin with. I had this cellie. His name was Snacks.
The guy's name was Snacks.
Yeah,
was he a big guy?
He was a big dude. That's
okay.
Man, this dude didn't wash up. He didn't brush his teeth.
Oh, he was big and funky.
God, man, this thing is crazy.
That's a bad combination.
Big and funky. So finally, he was my cellie for a while. Then I get a different one. Next minute, one day they hit my intercom and said, "What size you wear?" I told them, and I was like, "Yo, what?" They asked me what size I wear for. They was like, "You stand here." Wait, what? Yeah, you stand at Camp Hill. You ain't going nowhere. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be stuck up here. So now, June, I'm in Camp Hill for the next 2.5 years, and that little journey was like up and down. It was just 1 minute things wasn't going how I wanted. Next minute they was going somewhat good. Next minute they start getting better. Then they just got worse. Everything that can go wrong was going wrong. Mm-hmm. Then after that, so once everything started going bad, they start looking better. But like, I mean, Camp Hill is like where I got all my like educational stuff because like basically in Camp Hill, the thing about prison is that it could be a fool's playground, it could be a wise man's college. Now, once again, like I said before, when we first started interviewing, I hung with a lot of older people. Mm-hmm. So in jail, I hung with a lot of older people, and I also hung with Puerto Ricans and all that. You know what I'm saying? Yes. A lot of older people, they done already been through what I've been through. They done already
they've been in jail already.
They've been already. They done a lot of stuff they out of did. They already done.
Yes.
So I learned from a lot of them. Like I was taking knowledge, just like letting it sink in. Read a lot of books to keep myself occupied. Worked out, did my thing, and everything was going good. I mean, that was just like, but there's a piece of there's a very particular conversation that like opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. So
why at Camp Hill?
Why at Camp Hill? I want to say like my first couple of months, cause like when you in Camp Hill, you either in Blues or you either in Browns.
Okay.
The Blues are the people who just got there. They might be just passing through. Whether they get classified good at their home jail. And you in Browns, that's your home jail.
Okay.
So next thing you know, we get one day I was in Browns, so they switched me over to Browns. I'm in Browns. So one day I go to church, and then the reverend says, he says, we want to give a big shout out to Harry. He's celebrating his 40th year of incarceration. I'm like, that's something to celebrate? Like, you celebrating 40 years in jail? That ain't nothing to celebrate.
That's crazy.
So next minute, I heard that, next thing you know, I'm like, well, so one day I worked in the kitchen. So, you know, like, I worked in the kitchen. So I seen Harry, we called him Mr. Twigs. I'm just saying, because he was tall and he was skinny. So, so I'm like, what's up, Mr. Twigs? He was like, how you doing? I was like, I didn't want none. I just came to say what's up. I was like, I saw you in church before, and I wanted to ask you about the choir. He was like, nah, you ain't bothering me. I'm just eating my breakfast. Cause he was a cook. Okay. So, I mean, he had his little break. He went to go eat his food real quick. He said, how much time you got? I was like, 3 to 8 years, nothing big. I was like, I wish God would have gave me a second chance, but he didn't. He was like, so what did you, he said, what you do? I said, something stupid. I was like, I robbed a drug dealer. He was like, yeah, you might not believe this when I say this, but you came over and sat down for a reason. I'm like, I just came to say hi. He was like, no, you came and sat down for a reason. He was like, how old was you when you did that? I was like 21. He was like, me and you did the exact same crime. Exact same age. But mine turned out a lot worse. He was like, I've been in jail 40 years. He's like, I killed the drug dealer. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I robbed him. Killed him. Got caught for it. And now they gave me life.
40 years.
I was like, wait a minute, time out. I was like, they gave me life. I was like, man, you got life? He was like, yeah. He was like, they offered me 15 or 30, but I said no. Because I thought I can get it. I thought I was going to get away with it. He was like, but no, that's not how it happened. He like, listen.
And the exact same crime you committed. It's just the difference was he killed the drug dealer.
About that. He let me read a little newspaper article from his crime. He let me see his paperwork. He said, this is proof that you met me for a reason. He said, well, you actually came over here and he used me as an example of what not to be like. He said, there's no point for you to sit there and waste your life. He said, look at me. He said, we went to jail the exact same way. He said, I ain't never getting out. He was like, you might, but I'm not. He's like, I don't hold no regret. He said, I'm a living example of decisions you make will haunt you for the rest of your life.
What did that make you feel like hearing that? Like at that moment?
I mean, at that moment, I was like, this ain't no coincidence. Like, that made me a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. For a reason. Like, I mean, I went through what I went through in my life for a reason. I made decisions I made for a reason. I went to prison for a reason. Like, honestly, before I went to prison, I was walking around talking about, man, I'm a man. You can't tell me nothing. I'm a man. I went to jail when I was 21. But mentally, I was only 16. I went in that prison a kid and came out a man. Cigarettes.
It's just the mentality you had?
Yeah, just the mentality I had. Like, when I was 21, anybody that knows me knows, I was Doughboy back then. Yeah. Doughboy always had bottles. Doughboy always was partying. Doughboy always was out. Doughboy was always driving. Doughboy was the turn up king. Everybody want to sit down and relax. Nah, get up, man. Turn the music up, man. Let's pour these drinks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then had alcohol poisoning a couple of times and stuff like that.
Wow.
And got into altercations and all of that, but like I didn't care. That's all I was worried about. As long as I had my cell phone on, as long as I had my cell phone on, as long as I had a bottle, as long as I had something to do. That's all I wanted to do. Wow. The money didn't matter to me. That's really all I wanted to do. That's all my life was about at the time.
See.
And that's legitimately. So when I went to prison, it was like
and
there's
Mr.
more than
Twigs.
like, yeah,
Mr. Twigs.
Mr. Twigs like shine the light in my direction. Like you better wake up. He said, "I'm telling you right now, because if you do something else, you could end up in my shoes." He said, "You really want to wake up here and know you ain't never gonna go home?" No, not at all. He said, keep cutting up. You'll get there. Not saying that I want you to, but I'm telling you right now. He's like, I don't want you to be in one of these cells again one day and be like, yeah, he was right.
How did it feel to have time just like taken from you? The freedom to do what you want to do, go where you want to go. How did that feel to have that taken away from you?
Man,